What happens when a room full of powerful men laughs at the black janitor they think is invisible? For 30 years he mopped their marble floors, unseen, unheard. But on this night, when they mocked his worth, he answered not with anger, but with 9 different languages, each word cutting through arrogance like glass shattering on stone. How can a man they dismissed as nothing hold the entire boardroom in silence? The scrape of his mop echoes as the story begins. Get this old man out of here. The words cut through the city hall conference room like a blade. No one even looked at the janitor mopping the corner. To them, he was invisible, just another shadow with a broom. The marble floor gleamed, but his dark skin and faded uniform made him an easy target. One young executive smirked. He probably doesn't even know what we're saying. The old man paused, his hand tightening on the mop handle. He had cleaned these floors for 30 years, but tonight, their laughter landed heavier than any bucket he'd ever carried. The executives leaned back in leather chairs, polished watches glinting. They laughed louder, dismissing him as a relic. But then the janitor straightened, set his mop aside, and said quietly, "I understand more than you think." The room went still. He lifted his chin, and in one crisp phrase, he switched tongues. Spanish rolled out, flawless and sharp. At first, they chuckled, thinking it was a trick. Anyone can say gracias, one man scoffed. But the old janitor didn't stop. French followed, his voice carrying elegance that filled the sterile room. The laughter faltered. He continued in Mandarin, the tones rising and falling with precision. Now their smiles slipped. "What is this?" the businessman demanded. "You think speaking a few phrases makes you special?" The janitor's hands were steady as he pointed toward the whiteboard filled with contracts and notes. "Do you want me to translate that section in Arabic for you?" His words were calm, but the challenge was unmistakable. One executive leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Fine. Go ahead." The janitor walked slowly to the board, lifted a marker, and began. Arabic unfurled from his mouth like music, line by line, each word turned seamlessly into English. No hesitation. No stumble. Silence pressed against the walls. The man with silver hair scoffed, unwilling to concede. Parlor tricks. Fluency is more than repeating phrases. The janitor turned, his back straight, his gaze unwavering. "Do you want culture? Humor?" He switched to German, delivering a short story with timing so sharp it ended in a punchline that even without translation made Omar, the guest investor, laugh out loud. The executives shifted, embarrassed. The old man's voice dropped into Russian, then Italian, then Portuguese, each language bending to his tongue as easily as air. By the time he stopped, the men in suits weren't smirking anymore. They were staring. Omar leaned forward, his deep voice steady. "Who taught you all this?" The janitor placed the marker down gently. "No one. I learned in libraries, with old tapes, from people willing to talk to me when the rest of the world looked away." His words landed heavier than stone. The silver-haired executive slammed his palm on the table. "Enough. You're still just a janitor. That's all you'll ever be." The insult hit like a slap, but the old man didn't flinch. Instead, he looked straight at him. "Without me, your meetings would stink of trash. Without me, your tables wouldn't shine. But tonight, it's not your title that holds this room. It's my voice." Silence thickened. The businessmen shifted, reddening as others looked away. Omar rose from his chair, slow and deliberate. He walked toward the janitor, every step echoing against marble. "You've done what men with millions cannot," he said firmly. "You held a room with nothing but your mind." For the first time in decades, the janitor felt the weight lift from his shoulders. Not because he was seen as extraordinary, but because he was finally seen as human. The executives avoided his gaze, fidgeting in chairs that no longer felt so comfortable. Omar's voice filled the room. "Gentlemen, tonight's meeting is adjourned. Numbers can wait." But what I witnessed here cannot. The janitor bent to pick up his mop, but Omar stopped him. You don't need that right now. You've cleaned enough. Tonight, you taught us. The old man swallowed hard, his throat tight. For 30 years he had been overlooked, dismissed, mocked. Tonight, he was more than the janitor. He was the man who spoke 9 languages and silenced arrogance with truth. As he walked out, his steps were steady, his reflection shining back at him in the polished glass he'd once scrubbed invisible. And the message was clear: greatness doesn't come from titles, wealth, or privilege. It comes from the courage to stand tall when the world tells you to shrink. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment and subscribe for more stories.